Yes, sir.
Okay, so really? So welcome everyone to this presentation. I'm going to introduce Salem. He and I work together at the University of Washington Bothell, so it's my pleasure to introduce him today. So Salem is the digital media coordinator at University of Washington Bothell, and he has been for how long you been? You did like interim and
5 years, I think.
5 years,
About 5 years.
and then over the last year, I think it was, the new position became permanent.
Yes.
So it was pretty awesome. And he served, his educational background includes a Bachelor of Arts from Evergreen State College and a Master of Arts in Cultural Studies from University of Washington Bothell. So he really enjoys expanding the mission at Learning Technologist, which is our department. And he really cares about students and faculty, and he himself has taught several courses and continues to do so. And this specific presentation is related to a class that he's co-taught with an instructor from nursing. And he is very savvy. He's a magician when it comes to digital media and customer service and many other things that he does so well. And so, here's to you, Salem.
Thank you, Anna.
Thanks.
Well, welcome everybody. I feel like at the start of every class, everybody has to introduce their name and say something about them, but I'm not going to do that to you guys, so you're welcome. So my partner in crime, Butch de Castro, is not here right now. He just got through with hand surgery, so he was unable to make it. But I'm going to introduce you to what we've been doing in his classes for the last couple of years. Butch approached me looking for an interesting way to include digital media in his nursing classes. Now, nursing is not something that generally has arts-based classes, so this was a little bit new to him, and he was willing to experiment to see what kind of curriculum we could change and what changes we could make to incorporate media into his class. Now, first, we had a little bit of a problem. Our maximum lab, computer lab for Mac computers, which we do a lot of our training on, is 24 students, and he had 48 students. So we had a process of developing collaborative media projects, videos, and I wanted to show you guys one of the videos that came out of a summer course that we co-taught. It's always good to start with a movie. And then I will show you guys a couple other videos as we go along. And then I have an active learning, that's a keyword at Learning Tech Conferences, active, where you guys will be pairing up and actually creating a story using the storyboards that I provided to some of you. Those that didn't get them, you're going to be telling the story, so that's the other half of the fun. All right, so here's the first video. This was a course, BLPA course, which is an arts-based course that included, I think we had about 12 students from every department except the arts department, so engineering, STEM, nursing, and what's the other one we have? CSS. So this is one that one of the nursing students created. And what's interesting is the student came in with the idea that vaping was a lot better of an alternative to smoking cigarettes. While he might be right in some ways, he also learned from talking and working with the American Lung Association in Seattle the truth behind it, and he created this video that I wanted to show you guys. So I did this on a Mac, so hopefully it will show correctly. And do we have volume? Let's see, where's our volume? Is there a volume?
On there, Anna. On up right next to you, please.
Oh.
They are plugged in.
They are plugged in. I'm going to pause this.
Electronic cigarettes and the act of vaping has tripled among teenagers in Washington state since 2012.
Okay.
Is it still not working here? Let's try this one more time. Got it. Let's plug them up here.
Electronic cigarettes and the act of
There we go.
vaping has tripled
All right,
among
sorry.
teenagers in Washington States since
So I
2000.
can go back. There you go. All right. You guys can all see that okay?
Electronic cigarettes and active vaping has tripled among teenagers in Washington State since 2012.
Offer a variety of flavors such as strawberry, mango, orange, coffee, and bubblegum. Unfortunately, distribution of these products occur in public places such as malls and gas stations.
The incidence of vaping among young people is rising significantly. We really don't know enough about what the products contain. Some of the products claim to be nicotine-free. Others claim to have nicotine in them. But according to our understanding, even the products that say they're nicotine-free aren't actually completely nicotine-free. So most of these products are completely unregulated at this point. The juices may contain formaldehyde, they may include nicotine even when it says that they don't, and they also contain chemical compounds that can be found in fruits that you might use in your car.
Nicotine has an effect on the development of teenagers. The consequences may lead to brain and lung concerns.
But what we do know is that the brain is still developing even into our 20s. And so when you have somebody taking in nicotine at an early age, there's definitely concern about how that impacts or could potentially harm the developing brain of a young person.
Cigarettes are associated with dry cough as well as mouth and throat irritation. Watch for these symptoms as they persist. Educate your children that cigarettes contain nicotine, which is a highly addictive substance. Be clear with your teenagers that smoking of any kind is off limits. This includes traditional cigarettes, e-cigarettes, and even marijuana.
So this student came in with absolutely zero media production skills. Most students own at some point in time, whether it be an iPad or a phone. So they do take photos, they do take video often. Some of them even put it up on YouTube. But any traditional media skills had not been developed within this student or any of the students in the class that we've had for the last couple years. What's interesting about the approach that we wanted to take is, how do we give these students who don't necessarily learn, they're learning vocational skills, whether it be in nursing or CSS, but how do we integrate art into their curriculum? So this is one way we decided we could take their interest, whether it be nursing or CSS or biology, and there's lots of different other options that we've looked at, and we showed them how to take the content that they're learning and turn it into video. Has anybody done media production in this room, out of curiosity? Oh, I'm speaking to the choir here. So, have you guys worked with any faculty in non-traditional courses that have done media production? I'm seeing some nods. What kind of faculty did you work with?
I'm not exactly sure what you mean by the question. We do videos for a lot of different departments throughout the year. Could be the nursing program, sciences and things like that. So I don't know if that's what you're getting at.
I mean more teaching students in courses like nursing. This is more teaching them how to make videos and courses that don't generally non-arts-based courses?
So, wearing my faculty hat, my history students have done this in many of my courses across various media, but one course in particular, they created the history of irrigation in one of Boise's neighborhoods and tried to figure out what irrigation had, in what ways irrigation had enabled the neighborhood to grow, and they used all different kinds of media to express that, but part of it was making video interviews with some of the elderly residents of the neighborhood and to edit those. And they taught themselves how to do that. There's no teaching them that part.
Very cool. Go ahead.
Are you doing this as in class, teaching them?
These are in class teaching assignments, yes.
So the instructor then would have to give up certain class time to enable you to come in and tell them about some video fundamentals, basically.
Correct, and I'll get to that in a second. But has anybody else? That's a great one. Thank you for personal narratives. It sounds like they're doing personal histories and.
Yeah. I mean, not personal in the sense that they're autobiographical, but yeah, they're looking. But they also did. I mean, they went to the archives and did all kinds of research. But again, and I did give up class time for the students to teach each other. They just sort of crowdsourced their skills and learned new ones and taught each other.
Very cool. Yeah.
I've done a lot of different things, but the one thing we used to do in the English department at OSU is we would use digital media as a way of teaching rhetoric or composition or those kind of things, different skills that you would get from a paper, but in digital media format.
Very cool. So you've worked with the students in your classes to create videos and.
We took it, and we were there for the English department specifically. I was part of the DNP, as the digital media project, but basically we were teaching faculty how to use digital media in their classrooms to get them on board. I'm sure you're going to talk about like the difficulties of convincing people to take up their classroom with this, but the rewards were really, students look at rhetoric and composition in a totally different way than if they had written a paper about the same kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we had to consider with Butch's class is what would the students be making these videos on? He is trained in public health, and that's what his PhD is in. So we thought, what part of public health could we have the students investigate and then create videos? And he really focuses on stat collection. So we looked at a bunch of government websites with health information, and this student, for example, looked at smoking, cancer rates and smoking. And then he went out to the community organizations, this being the American Lung Association in Washington, and he asked them these questions. Now, part of this, what we had to do first is introduce these students to the media equipment and what a digital story is. What we had a kind of basically a two-project course outline. The first one was infographics. So we had the student look up information based on statistics for public health, and then create infographics on that information that they found. You guys know what infographics are? Those long posters that have a bunch of information about public health issues, or there's a really famous Greenpeace one that goes around about ocean depletion and all that other stuff. So we had them do that, and we taught them Photoshop. This skill then could later be integrated into their video projects, so they could take their photos and use Photoshop to manipulate the photos and then insert them into their video projects. And then we also taught them Final Cut Pro, which is a video editing program. And yes, this does take a couple of classes to do. So for some courses, we introduce this as a optional software, so they can actually come in during out-of-class time, work with one of the tutor. I run a lab at the university where we offer 9-to-5 tutoring in digital media. So we'll teach the students, they can walk in at any time. We teach them how to use the video editing software. Or we offer in-class video workshops on how to use the software. Part of this is having them collect information, video or photos at the beginning, and then bringing it to our lab assistants or to the class, and then I show them how to make edits, insert video. It stays very basic in nature, simply for the fact that if you overwhelm the students with all the cool stuff you can do with digital media, it seems to take a lot more time, and it has less tendency to be worth it to take up that class time. So basically what we do is show them how to edit, insert pictures, and then do a narrative over the video or record their voice. It becomes very difficult at first to judge how this is going to work for a class, and it actually takes a professor or faculty member a little bit of self-searching how they want to create these videos, or have their students create videos. Generally, most of the faculty that approach me have never done media projects at all. And they just come in with the idea that, hey, I think it would be really cool to have, for example, a science class that decided to make Mythbusters episodes. So we all taught them how to use iMovie, create these Mythbusters episodes, and then incorporate it into their class. They come in generally with this spark, the idea that they want to create some sort of digital media, and then I work with them to discover how we can take the core principles of their class and then integrate that into a video project or an audio project or even a photo project. We have done photo essays and This American Lifestyle audio narratives. Oh, sorry, I want to get back to this. We also, we also talk to them about grading rubrics, which are very important. For many of the courses that aren't based in the arts, it is really important for them to have this idea, what am I grading the student on? If a student hasn't done any media projects, can you grade them on whether they have a shaky camera or not, or their art style? If they don't meet, the traditional goal learning objectives of the course in an arts course, those might not transfer over to a nursing course, for example, or a CSS course. So we keep them very, very basic, and I'll show you guys at the end of grading rubric that we used. Do you guys have Mac labs at your campuses? Some of you guys do, and some of you guys don't. I'm seeing some meh faces now. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that, actually. Yeah. Is it open to everyone in the lab on your campus, and how is it staffed and managed?
Yeah, so the labs that we have, originally our campus created one Mac lab about 6 years ago. And it was kind of a fluke. Some teachers wanted to start teaching digital media, and nobody really used it. When I got hired, it became kind of my goal to be an advocate for that room, to get professors using these, doing digital media classes in that room. Eventually, we got to the point where classes were taking up this digital media lab, and no students could use it to do their videos. Videos take a long time to edit. It's very, time consumptive in terms of they have to sit down with their project. They probably don't own a Mac or own the digital media software, so they have to have a place to sit. So eventually I approached the student. We have something called STF, which is Student Technology Fee. Many campuses have it. It's a student pool of funding that can be used to only purchase technology. I talked to them, and I was able to secure one of our old computer labs and purchase 16 5K iMacs to put in that lab using that funding. So it ended up costing our department absolutely nothing. And all it took was a small little proposal. Yes?
I was just going to comment in your previous slides, I think you kind of alluded to this, but with our mobile programs, the tablets have been a fantastic tool for creating digital media for students. They have the tool in their hands to capture images, to create images, to edit them, to export them, to share them. It's all, quite mobile in their hands. We've done some really great projects and seen great projects out of students. Especially we have a lot of non-traditional students coming back and forth from campus, and if we can get a tablet in their hands, it makes it so much more accessible for them to edit the media and to capture media outside of the campus, that sort of thing. So student documentaries, we've had engineering students create educational videos to send to a K-12 school for young scientists to get them interested in experiments they're doing on campus. We've done narration of engineering problems where students narrate the process of going through a problem. We've had a lot of great opportunities with those devices. So.
Absolutely. We don't at this point in time have a iPad cart. Our education department does. They have about 15 iPads which they loan out to all of the education students. And these are the certification students. So the students that are going for state certification, they already have their bachelor's or master's degree at this point in time. But yes, absolutely. Mobile technology, These are great, and bringing your own device does work for most students, but you always have to have the option for the students that can't afford the devices. For us, we have not done a lot of mobile. We've had a lot of professors with funds purchase mobile devices. One of the professors is going to Zambia. They bought all of the students' iPad minis. This has iMovie on it, so you can edit using these devices, and it makes it I think it makes it really fun for the student because they actually record with the iPad and then they edit on it. It almost becomes this all-encompassing device. We actually at our university have a quite awesome checkout system where we have about 300 cameras that we purchase using student fees for checking out the students, and I'll go over that in a second. The next thing we wanted is we really wanted these students to create videos that had more than just classroom, I'm done, give me a grade implications. So we had the students reach out to organizations around the community. This really helped because the faculty member was into public health, and he is a nurse, and he works with lots of different organizations, so he had a lot of these connections already established that he could send students or groups of students to work with these community organizations. For the students, this is great because they could say, hey, I'm going to be creating a video based off the topic that you guys talk about. What would you like to see? This really gives them a little bit of guidance in terms of what the organization is looking for. For the students that didn't have connections set up for them, a lot of them just went to their local, clinics or hospitals, or even this student, we did not have this set up for him. He just went to the American Lung Association, said, hey, can I talk with somebody? And they were glad to talk with him. And he ended up giving this video to them to use for promotional materials. For them, the students really can see their assignments going a little bit beyond just the classroom, give me a grade kind of assignments, that they can actually put them into the community. And I would say probably around 33% of these assignments actually go back out into the community and are used for other purposes. So for this, and for the students that I hire in my lab, and I have 8 students right now. Most of the students have had no technology experience for digital media editing. And what I really like to stress for these students, we can teach you the skills. Any student can come in with a few weeks or a few days, learn how to use Final Cut Pro. It's a linear video editing program, one thing after another, and you get to decide the story. But what's really important for the students that I hire for my lab, and also the students that are coming into these classes, is that you have some basic writing skills, some basic understanding of the topic that you want to talk about, and communication skills, because it becomes very important for them to have this all laid out, especially when they're working with outside organizations. They can say, hey, this is what I want to talk about, this is what I want to record, and this is what I can give back to you. We really try to create the symbiotic relationship between them and the outside organizations. And by having that, we have them create storyboards, which some of you guys have, and we will actually do an active learning assignment in a few minutes on that. But by having these storyboards ready, we do a storyboarding workshop in the classroom where they work with their fellow students and they create a story. That story then is basically workshopped. You guys have done Think, Pair, Shares, right? You guys have heard that terminology. So you create a storyboard based off of somebody else's story, and then they have to retell it to the classroom and have the story's original integrity intact while they're telling it to the story. And then the original author, the teller of that story, the storyteller, gets to say how they did and gets to choose their grade. Kind of an interesting way of doing it. And students are actually pretty generous with grades if you give them the opportunity to hand them out, so it's kind of fun. Alrighty. These are 2 of the courses that we have done these assignments in, and it's Community Health Nursing and Human Health in the Environment. The environment one, I will show you guys a video. That one focused on Georgetown, which is in South Seattle. They have a lot of truck idling and it's one of the most polluted riverways in Seattle. So we actually had the students go out on a boat with cameras and tripods and actually film the area and the garbage dumps around the area and the trucks idling. And it worked really well. I was really surprised. They really enjoyed it. And then you have to think about the course goals. And many of these I like to stress, especially when you're introducing media, they meet the learning objectives of the course without the media. For the professor, keeping the curriculum based off something that they're comfortable really helps you introduce a foreign or different thing into their classroom, especially media. And it might not work the first time. We've had to workshop this over and over again and try to figure out what went right, what went wrong, what the students like, what the grading, the student reviews look like, and all of that other stuff. And we constantly workshop it. We try to make it easier for the students, but we also try to give them the valuable skills like Photoshop. If you tell the students that they're going to learn Photoshop, they're like, oh, this is awesome. I can like cut out my picture of my face and put it on my cat. You know, they like using that stuff because it's really popular software and they don't have a chance to learn it in most of these departments. So we introduce it to them and show them the cool things that they can do, but we also let them, you know, get down to what the point and the learning objectives of the course are. And then I'm going to ignore that one. Alrighty. And then I talked to you guys about service learning, and that's one of the most important things for these courses that we did focus on. We are going to be doing a class this summer that's not focusing on service learning so much, but we want to also put the opportunity out for students to get involved in the neighborhood, working with healthcare professionals to really expand this. The course this summer that we're teaching has 48 students. Now, we only, like I said, have a computer lab with 24 Macs in it. So one of the things we had to do is we had to decide, how do we create videos that are both equal, where both students get their video in, even if one of them doesn't have, you know, Steven Spielberg type directing skills or videography skills, but also have it meet the point of the learning objectives and actually have it as a resource that the students will want to share with these outside organizations. So one of the things that we do is we have groups of 2 to 6 students. They work together, they decide, they all go out, they all record. We have enough cameras on campus, thankfully. They're older cameras. These are not $1,000 cameras. These are flip cameras and iPhones that the students have, or small Canon Vixias that cost about $200 that a lot of colleges have. They go out, they record about 2 minutes of video, and we tell each one of the students that 30 seconds of their video is going to be included in this video when it's completed, and then turn in as the assignment. Does anybody know why I only attach 30 seconds to each student? Has anybody sat through a class of student videos? I can tell by the laughter, yes, you guys have. And first video, awesome, you know, you're in the mood for the video. Second, Blair Witch Project, you know, shaky camera, you don't know what's going on. And third, it just becomes a little bit much. So we have this idea that most students are watching YouTube videos for about 2 minutes. We tell them not to make a video more than 2 to 3 minutes long. If they have to go a little bit over that, we allow for about 3.5 minutes. But what we really want to focus on is that the content and the story is being told, and that everybody's getting a chance to show that they have a little piece of this project that they've created total. Alright. And I am looking at my time, and I'm going to go to this. Alright, so for the students, one of the things, because of our summer class, it's not just nursing students. So we try to figure out what the students are really into in terms of, I had a biology student last summer. They were really into molecular biology. One of the things that they wanted to talk about is how germs were spread, because this is a public health class, so we also try to introduce what they're into, you know. So I showed them how to take some germs that they collected out of their mouth and put on a petri dish and take pictures of those. Then we worked with Photoshop. They used like a little highlighter to highlight I'm not into cellular biology, I don't know what I'm talking about with the subject, but the walls of the cell, or how the cell breaks apart. They actually used their phone camera and recorded this happening and used it in their video. So we allowed them to be creative. We allowed them to include points of what they're interested in, because if you do that, and they are interested in the topic, they're usually willing to do a little bit more and actually put a little bit more into it, from what I've seen. And That's some of the stuff that we look for in terms of time, spacing, rubrics. I want to have time to show you guys all this, and I'm realizing we're not having a lot of time left. And then a little bit of this. Audio and visual technology resources. And what this goes into is, I will put these online so you guys can see it. This is the lab on our campus. So this is the lab right here that the students can work in. This is our digital media lab. And then this is our open learning lab where the students can work with the student tutors, so they have the option of learning the software. Making it available to them and giving them one-on-one counseling and advice really helps. Do any of you have digital media tutors or anything like that at your campus? Anybody that could teach students digital media?
Not officially.
Not officially? How many of you have taught classes with digital media? A few people? Generally, what software do you use and what kind of media are you teaching? Are you teaching audio editing, video editing, or photo editing? Or a little bit of all? All the above? How do you find that works? How much time do you think it takes to teach students how to use, say, Audacity or iMovie or Final Cut?
It depends on the student. Audacity is pretty easy. That's the one that I was teaching them media use in the library, and just kind of use some basic editing programs. Audacity was one of them. And some people got it really fast, and others, they had to come in the office and I had to work with them on that project.
Absolutely. I heard a couple other people
We just kind of take whatever amount of time the professor has, and then we listen to their learning goals, and then we match it together. So whatever amount of time we have, we can only teach to that one aspect. So we try to give them enough proficiency to kind of make mistakes on their own, so then they have to figure it out as a group.
And how much time does that usually end up being, just out of curiosity?
Depends.
It can be anywhere from 15 minutes to a couple hours.
A couple hours. And
Or a couple of class sessions.
Yeah, 4 hours.
Yeah.
what software are you teaching?
Audacity, Premiere, Camtasia, Windows Movie Maker, Photoshop, the whole Creative Cloud.
And you guys do hardware too, like microphones and peripherals.
It can be tough, and especially if you don't have backup students. We kind of got lucky. Our students are paid for by the Arts and Humanities Department. They have a pretty big, I mean, it's not big, it's a decent-sized media and communication studies program, so the students pay course fees for us to have those tutors in there. And then those course fees are allowed to facilitate anybody that's curious about these software skills. But for your guys, when you're teaching these classes, it's almost impossible, I think, personally, for you to work one-on-one with every student teaching them so-and-so software program. So one of the things that we do is the students have, the student workers that have downtime, we have them create tutorials. And what's interesting is most of these tutorials are the same questions over and over and over again. How do I start a project? How do I work in Audacity? So we create these basically chronological tutorials of how you would clip an audio clip and then save it as an MP3 using Audacity. I'm going to just, do you guys know what Audacity is? It's audio editor, video editor, iMovie, Final Cut Pro, Premiere, Windows Movie Maker, and then Photoshop being a image editor. So we showed the students how to do this chronologically, and then most of the time those tutorials are sufficient. So a lot of the students, if they could download the software for free, they just go home, download the software. Audacity is free. They'll go through the tutorials and then write us an email if they have a question or they stumbled along the way. Or they can go into the lab. We've had a fortunate benefit to have our students 9 to 5 this last year. It used to be about 5 hours a week for our student workers, and it's kind of grown from that, from the idea that the more classes and the more departments that are invested in digital media and digital media literacy, the more that we can get those students to stay in there and help a larger amount of our student-based population. We have about 4,000 students, so we're a pretty small college. In terms of, I know that a lot of colleges have 35 to 50,000. UW Seattle is about 50,000, 40-some thousand. Mm-hmm. So we have that benefit that we're really close, and we have the only open lab on campus, so we're allowed to, work with everybody in that lab, which is great. And I know a lot of departments have specific lab. Here's the CSS lab. You're not going to get any digital media support in there. Unfortunately, they turn all of our labs into classrooms. So with the only lab left, we got the right point, because all the students go to that lab and they're like, oh, I can learn this, and they work with us there. This is some of the software we use. One of the things these are not digital media softwares, Google Site and Canvas, but we also support that in there. You know, surprisingly, that is the greatest benefit. Adding those two things does more than just saying that we teach these two things, because everybody has to use Google Sites and Canvas. This is our ePortfolio platform, and you guys know what Canvas is, the fun LMS. So we also taught Pro Tools for a while, and I based this software off of what the current faculty are teaching, and we have a faculty group that decides what software they're going to teach. And we have to, sometimes I have to say no. Pro Tools is one we don't do anymore. Many of you know Pro Tools is a professional level audio editing software. We're not a audio editing school. So at some point we have to say, yes, we can't do the tutorials, we can't develop all this curriculum and all this stuff to match that, or meet the need of Pro Tools. But what we can do is we can set limits. You notice I don't have Windows Movie Maker up there, or Microsoft Story, what is it? The storytelling software. We used to have that up, support for that. We have to set the limits. These are the softwares we're going to teach you. And unfortunately, we can't branch out very far from that, because I'm never going to find a student that knows all that, plus all the other software people want to throw on the plate. Ableton is a big one that comes up every once in a while, because some teachers want to do remixing. I have to say no, and I really try to create a environment. Well, it is, Final Cut and Premiere and iMovie 3 video editing programs. That's a lot for any student to know. We try to meet the need for the greatest amount of campus, but we also say no, we're not going to get Sony Vegas, and no, we're not going to produce tutorials on that. So we have to set our own limits. And then we also advocate students bring their own devices. We do have these flip cameras. They don't make these anymore, unfortunately, but we had this benefit to get about 100 before they stopped making them. Students will bring in all the types of media and all the types of cameras they can find. Many of them even bring in VHS cameras. We help them get that media off. Record players are popular. Records are popular to get music off of these records, so we help them do that. But we're a real advocate for iPads and iPhones, as you were talking about earlier. They're great for this. And then the most important thing, and you guys know why that is, right? Blair Witch. See, I say that joke to students, and they look at me, they're like, what are you talking about? It just shows that I'm getting older. And then finally, because a lot of these students are using community-based organizations as their voice, we show them Creative Commons materials. And you guys know what Creative Commons is, correct? Yes? I want more enthusiasm.
Yes!
So we show them like archive.org and lots of places they can show this. One of the funnest things is, it's not really fun, it's actually quite sad. The students will use a very popular song. The day that the assignments due, the videos due, they put it on YouTube and it's taken down, and that was their only copy because they left it on the lab computer. So we show them Creative Commons material so that doesn't happen, and then we have them cite the materials, fortunately. And then this is one that we did for a community-based class. You guys want to see another video? Yes. All right. Probably because it has to do with health topics.
Grew up in this area, and initially they didn't come to University of Washington, but they grew up in the area, and I coached them numerous times, and both of them came down with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma at the very same time. And when I would visit them or talk with them, both of them and their parents would say, they're too healthy to be so sick. I just think it's black dog. And 1 year, 4 out of 5 of them were goalkeepers. And a nurse there, she said, wow, you're the fourth goalkeeper to chemo this week. Same carcinogens that have been known to cause cancer are found in no one knows where the rubber comes from. It could come from North Korea, it could come from China, it could come from the US, it could be government vehicles that have different treatments on them to keep them in 120-degree temperature, all that stuff. So I do know that there's a link to certain carcinogens in cancer. I do know that those carcinogens are found in the Crum River. I do know that there seems to be a much higher rate of young adults with cancer. I've been coached for 25, 26 years, and I never heard of lymphoma. I didn't know anyone close to me that was sick, and now I know a lot of people that are in the same demographic of kids I've always coached. The biggest concern to me is finding out if kids are playing on it, if the younger the kid, the lower their toxicity level is. That is a concern of mine for everyone. And the first thing is just to find out if it's safe or not, in all conditions. And this stuff really is inert. Great. I will say that I've had some studies that say if you disrupt it, it becomes a lot more volatile. Some off-gassing will take place, and that's why I think the gatekeepers kind of take the hit a little bit. If you disrupt it and you're still laying there, then you would probably get it at a higher level. Natural gatekeepers, but not everyone wants to play on the perfect putting green soccer field like we get to. So I get that most of the parks and recreational places where kids are playing 24/7, the goal area doesn't have one blade of grass on it. That would be the best. And I know there are some other carcinogens in it. And cork is the other thing. So I think it's a lot more pricey, but people, if it's a lot safer, it's a lot safer. I would love the public to be aware of the fact that it could be unsafe, and that I would love for everything to kind of put the field trip on hold until it was deemed safe. You hear people say, when it's hot, it smells like burning rubber. And I wonder what's in it. I wonder, well, if no one's wondering and everyone says, hey, here's a test, it's safe for everyone, it would be great. And it would be great for the public to know that.
Another one of the videos that I had, and I just wanted to ask you guys if you had any questions, and then we'll just start a little active learning assignment for the rest of the time, and we'll go from there. I just want to get to it. I'm not going to bore you guys with the ins and outs of storyboarding, but did anybody have any questions about the videos or the process of working with the nursing department?
Do you give them direction to take the shots that way of the person with their head turned?
We do a basic camera angle shot for that course. Some courses we don't have the time to do it. As you know, as it can be like 15 minutes that you're supposed to teach them how to use Final Cut. It's not possible in a lot of ways. Teaching them the basics usually helps a lot, but really instilling with them that they have help throughout our in our open lab for digital media support. That's really a lot of the time. Most of the resources they get are the online resources where we do have camera angles and storyboarding resources on our website.
So for this particular class, like how much actual class time were you in there?
So for the first video, I taught the course.
Okay.
For the first, I taught Photoshop and I taught Final Cut Pro. It was a whole course, 9-week summer course. For the last video that you just watched, about 2 hours. Oh, you guys are leaving during the active learning thing? I want to point you guys out. Well, very cool. Well, any other questions? All right. I gave some of you guys storyboards, since you all know media pretty well. If you want to team up with somebody that doesn't have the storyboards, so generally this area has storyboards. If you guys want to team up with somebody on this side. It said active, so I'm going to make this active. So if you guys want to up and over. I should have brought candy or beer or something. That's what. There's a Trader Joe's. Get a 12-pack or something. Quick picture while there. So for those that have the storyboards, you are the listener. For those who do not have the storyboards, you are the artiste. You will be drawing this story out. This is one of the assignments we do before we actually start producing videos. And you guys' prompt is, what was your morning like to get to this conference? It could be funny. Like me, I lost my ID on the tarmac, and I still don't have it, so I don't know who I am anymore. So that would be a story. But what you're going to do is you're going to tell the person with the storyboards your story, try to include as much detail as possible, and then that person, hopefully one of you guys, will want to share it with the whole class. You will share that story, and that individual will say how you did in recreating their story. So does that make sense to everybody? All right. I will leave you to it. We have about 4 minutes. So it will be a very quick story.
You have 2 minutes to tell us about your
Ready
to go.
So way more interesting. I'm Bothell. My morning was very uneventful.
I would hope so. I've been through B1 games. There's not much else to do there.
Did you see anything happen to you?
I drove my kid to school and then I came to work.
Pulmonary flare.
And then got ready.
Cornhole and fatties.
Wow, that's great. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, she got up before 30.
That's so much better than